The pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood is really an interesting group for the period. They did not believe in realism. Rather, they sought the romance of the old. Simple compositions, simple use of color, and yet incorporated some of the realism that we see of the time. Depending on who you're looking at, some of these artists are going to be in the realist camp, some in the romantic camp, but what actually brings them together is a newsletter. They are based on a group of 5 artists who had a newsletter between 1848 and 1853. The idea of the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood was that art somehow had lost its purity, had lost its focus after Raphael. So they want to go back to that, back to those original ideas, those early Renaissance ideas. They're brought together in part by John Ruskin, who's an art critic, and he's the first to quote-unquote discover the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. He's a very powerful art critic and becomes one of their great defenders. He's arguably the reason they become so well known. And their work tends to be very realistic. What they're doing frequently is working with small spots of glaze, in other words, paint mixed with varnish, used in time-consuming paintings, where they're trying to capture every detail of a situation. It could be a religious piece like the Annunciation that we see on the left. It could be a piece of social consciousness, looking at the problems of prostitution and other general issues of gender going on the right. But either way, it's always going to have a very realistic flair. And mostly they're going to deal with the more romantic, medieval images, medieval stories, stories from literature, that sort of thing.